UFC 325 is officially in the rear view. There were winners, there were losers, there were paramount audio issues, and there were fights that never were. And the first fight I'm going to talk about tonight is one of the fights that never was because the UFC decided to be a coward and not address what happened. In case you people aren't aware, there was a fourth Road to UFC fight scheduled for yesterday that was canceled on Friday at the weigh-in. Now, it's this fight right here on the screen, Namsari Batbayar versus Aaron Tao. You can see the reason it was canceled was because Tao missed weight. We've all seen fights get canceled from weight miss issues in the past. Usually a fighter misses weight and the other fighter will either elect not to fight them because of the weight miss, or the athletic commission can't sanction the fight because the difference in weight is too great. But that's not what happened at all. This was sensational. This was something I was eagerly waiting to see what the UFC had to say about it. The UFC should have actually just showed the replay of the whole thing and explained it and walked us through it play by play. That would have been beautiful. But instead, they gave it the silent treatment. So, recap for people that didn't see it. Tao uses the weight booth thing that goes around him because he's going to weigh in naked because he's so close to, he can barely make weight. He has to be naked. He gets on, he's 4 pounds underweight. He gets off, they weigh him again because it's suspicious, and he's like 5 pounds overweight. I think he went from 122 to 129, so that would be 3 pounds overweight. He's obviously cheating. They review it. He's resting his arms on the top of the curtain, which screws his weight, and they just cancel his fight. Now, I was waiting to see what the UFC was going to say about this because Daniel Cormier, one of the cornerstones of their commentary crew, very famously cheated in almost this exact same way to make weight at UFC 210 against Rumble Johnson. I couldn't wait for the UFC to bash this guy with DC just sitting there listening or get DC's own take on it, but the UFC just swept it under the rug. They really should have capitalized. They should have shown the full weigh-in replay with X's and O's on the screen, squiggly lines, everything, but they were cowards. Anyway, getting to the actual fights that happened. First up, we have Lawrence Louis wins by split decision against Sulling Rangbo. Now, the first thing that popped off the page is there were no kicks. It's like they were told this was a custom rules fight of boxing and grappling with no kicks and no submissions. So these guys need to learn it's mixed martial arts, not a boxing grappling match without the other parts. And either way, when this fight was over and it was going to the decision, the only thing going through my mind was it doesn't matter who wins this fight. There's no hype for either guy. So Lawrence Louis, you got your work cut out for you. You need to bring some entertainment next time, buddy. Next up, Keiichi Nakamura wins by third round TKO against Sebastian Saleh. For the first 2 rounds, Nakamura forgot he was there to fight. He was just a punching bag who was tricking us into thinking Saleh was a good fighter. Then in the 3rd round, out of nowhere, Saleh decides to just telegraph panic wrestling takedowns over and over and over until Nakamura finally gets the hint and lands that big knee up the middle and gets the KO. This thing literally looked choreographed. I couldn't believe what I was watching. All these fixed fight talks going on, fights getting canceled, fights getting pulled. It's like Saleh told his best bud, hey, live bet on me to lose in the 3rd round by KO. I'm going to win these first 2 rounds to make the odds nice and good in my favor, and then I'll throw the fight in round 3. That's what it looked like because I couldn't explain what the heck he was doing in round 3 after the first 2 rounds. Anyway, Nakamura wins. Welcome to the UFC. Good job. Saleh, I don't know what the hell that was. Next up, Dom Marfan versus Sang-Uk Kim. Dom Marfan gets it done by unanimous decision. Now, I'm watching this fight, and Dom Marfan is on the way to repeating the last fight by winning the first 2 rounds and then losing the 3rd round. Bad. But instead of backing Fan up to the cage and teeing off on the feet, Kim just kept going for the clinch. Kim basically saved Fan by not going for a finish. Kim had Fan in so much danger, so much. He could have totally finished the fight, but instead he just decides to clinch. It's like those guys, you see them, they rock a guy, but instead of going for a finish on the feet, their horrible instincts kick in and they go for a takedown, and then they spend the next minute and a half trying to take a guy down that they can't take down and just give him all the time in the world to recover. That was basically this in a nutshell, but instead of a takedown, it was clinch. Good job, Kim. You gave Fan the win. Next up, Con Offley defeats Yija by majority decision. So, first of all, how did Yija not get the finish in round 2? He had him out so many times. It was super frustrating to watch in round 2, especially when I picked Yija to win. But he fumbles the finish, and it comes back to haunt him. I was so sure that Yija had won this fight. I wasn't even paying attention in the official decision being read by the judges and the ref. I'm just doing my own thing, and all of a sudden I see Offley wins. I could not believe it. Absolute robbery. I'm curious to see what the rest of the internet thinks about it, but Yija definitely got robbed, but it's kind of on him for fumbling the finish in round 2 like a true loser. Next up, Jonathan McAuliffe submits Oban Elliott in round 2. Now this one, in round 1, McAuliffe is getting completely pieced up on the feet, and I'm starting to question my life decisions that led me to picking him to win this fight. McAuliffe had no answer for Oban's speed whatsoever. It was sad to watch because McAuliffe just fighting in slow motion. It's like his punches have to go through molasses before they get to Oban, and Oban's just out of the way before then. Oban's in and out, landing, and McAuliffe is just getting pieced up. Then in round 2, he has a novel idea. Why don't I take this fight to the ground and submit him? And that's exactly what he does. Oban's got nothing on the ground, and it's as soon as he's there, he's tapping. Good job, McAuliffe. Thanks for proving me right. Next up, Torres Finney versus Jacob Malkoun. Now, I would like to apologize to everyone that I may have misled unintentionally this week about Torres Finney's bright future. I did not realize that Torres Finney was going to have a freak leg injury and lose this fight. I didn't realize something would happen out of nothing that Jacob Malkoun did that would leave Torres Finney unable to move, wrestle, and or fight in any meaningful way. So, good job, Jacob Malkoun, for getting a win, even though you couldn't finish a one-legged opponent. And Torres Finney looked like a victim on the feet. At first, I was thinking, the takedown machine's not going for takedowns. He must be trying to avoid Jacob Malkoun's hips because he knows Jacob Malkoun's hips actually have a TKO victory over Andre Petroski. And Torres Finney doesn't want me the second victim to those hips. That was my first thought. And then, of course, we see the leg injury. I'm like, oh, he's not afraid of Jacob Malkoun's hips. He's just injured and can't do anything. So that was a dud of a fight. A lot of people are happy Torres Finney lost. I don't really care. I hate it when there's a freak injury because now everyone knows Torres Finney's weakness is a freak leg injury, and they have the tape showing how to make the freak leg injury happen, and they're just going to do that in the future. So Torres Finney is going to have to come up with some defense for that freak leg injury, or everyone's got him figured out at this point. Next up, Cam Rouston versus Cody Brundage. Cam Rouston gets it done by TKO in round 2. This, folks, well, let me back up. Let me say that while I'm not particularly a fan of Cody Brundage, I am a fan of Cody Brundage fights. And let me explain that one step further. Cody Brundage is what happens when you have plot armor, but your plot armor is from Temu. You see, it doesn't work every time, and it doesn't always get you the win. But it pulls some random stuff out of your butt left and right to save your UFC career. Cody Brundage has the weirdest UFC career I've ever seen, and I could not wait to see what his Temu plot armor had in store for us tonight. Unfortunately, his Temu plot armor was taking the night off, and he gets beat up like we all expected it to happen. But it's been a couple fights. If the UFC gives this guy one more fight, expect his Temu plot armor to be out in full force for the next one. Keep an eye on that moving forward. Next up, Billy Elikana submits Junior Tafa. What do you know? A Junior Tafa doesn't have a ground game. Not a whole lot to say about that one. In his defense, though, Junior Tafa did look like he was in the best shape of his career. I was kind of second guessing myself seeing him step in the cage, but then he gets in there, he hits Billy Elicana with an absolute bomb, drops him immediately, and I'm thinking, crap, there goes my pick. But somehow Billy Elicana, the warrior he is, summons the ancestors of his past relatives and lead him to victory in this crazy scrap. This one was a pretty good fight. And to be honest, Junior Tafa did not want to lose his job. He was 2-4 going into it, 2-5 now. His brother's already out of the UFC. He's probably following his brother, for being honest. But Tafa made Elicana work for it. Round one was super sketchy for Billy Elicana. But he composed himself in round two. He'd seen a couple of the fights earlier the night where he's like, all I got to do is get a takedown, this thing's over. That's what he did. Takedown, submission, boom, Elicana's the winner. Next up, Quillen Salkeld submits Jamie Malarkey. Now, Malarkey knew he was the underdog. Malarkey knew everyone was there to see Salkeld, and Malarkey did not like that. Malarkey came to fight, for real. He fought like his job was on the line, and Salkeld had to work a lot harder than he was expecting to have to work. All that said, though, Salkeld hits the perfect rock bottom and just finishes the fight. That was absolutely beautiful. I've never seen a move like that in pro MMA before, and I hope this is the new Salkeld special and he busted out every other fight. Good job, Quillen Salkeld. Looking forward to seeing in the future. Australian Paddy Pimblett. Next up, the big boys, Taliesin Teixeira versus Tai Tuivasa. Now, the fight starts. There's an immediate takedown, and the crowd immediately starts booing. They are not here for this grappling BS. They're here for Tai Tuivasa to finally get a win, get a KO, get back to form, and do a shoey. Unfortunately, that's not what Taliesin Teixeira had in mind for this fight. Taliesin Teixeira, 3 times Brazilian national BJJ champion, cannot submit obese, alcoholic Blob Tuivasa. That just goes to show grappling credentials go right out the window as soon as you step in the cage, apparently, because Taliesin Teixeira is one of the most highly decorated BJJ practitioners in the heavyweight division, and he's got 2 rounds of control time on Tai Tuivasa, and he's got nothing for him. Also, how was Teixeira ranked 15? You lose to Derek Lewis in 30 seconds and you're ranked 15th in the world in the heavyweight division. All you have to do is slowly circle away from Lewis's power hand and you can make it 30 seconds with him. I could be ranked 15th in the world if that's all it takes, and I'm not even a heavyweight. Anyway, Taliesin Teixeira absolutely kills any hype he might have, and he's probably going to be ranked number 9 on Tuesday. Moving on to the people's main event, Mauricio Huffy KOs Rafael Fiziev in round 2. This one was a good one. Now, Huffy had a slow start. Fiziev took control of round 1. But even though Fiziev clearly outlanded Huffy in round 1, the whole time I'm watching this fight, all I could think to myself is Huffy's accuracy and precision are impressive. I don't know what his accuracy was, striking accuracy, but he did not miss much. And once he found that chin, it was a matter of time. Fiziev's striking is so overrated. They even called these guys not even 2 of the best strikers at 155. One of the announcers said 2 of the best strikers in the UFC. Now that might be true about Huffy, but it's definitely not true about Fiziev, and we learned that last night. Huffy's got to work on his ground game for sure, because everyone at the top of 155 is a serious grappler. If he can get that figured out, though, he's got a future. Moving on. BSD TKO's Dan Hooker from Full Mount. Now, this was an interesting one because BSD has no stand up and Dan Hooker has no ground game. So it was like a case of who's going to lose first, whose weakness is going to fail them the most in the most spectacular way. Because I know BSD is coming off a KO victory in his previous fight, but the man cannot stand up with competent strikers. He's a ticking time bomb of getting KO'd. Anytime I see him exchanging in the pocket, I get Dustin Poirier flashbacks, and he should be getting Dustin Poirier flashbacks too, because it's gonna happen again the next time he fights anyone that's good on the feet with a modicum of takedown defense. And Dan Hooker, nothing on the ground, absolutely nothing on the ground. Who can lose first? Apparently Dan Hooker can lose first. Gets TKO'd from full mount. Good job, BSD. I'm hoping they can do a BSD versus Paddy Pimblett because those are kind of two of the same builds, to be honest. Zero striking, mid grappling, poor wrestling, tough as nails. And that would actually be a pretty good fight. I don't know if they'll do it. I feel like they probably want both guys to win of those two, of BSD and Paddy. But that's what I would make for that fight. BSD versus Paddy Pimblett. And then on to the main event of the evening. Volk still got it. 37 years old, apparently is not old in Australia. Things are a little bit different down there. And we saw the same fight we saw last year. We saw exactly why people didn't want this fight booked in the first place. They said, hey, we already saw what happens when Volk fights Lopez. Volk's just going to outclass him for 5 rounds, and that's exactly what he did. Volk started out a little bit cautious, but then he started building a lead. And then in round 3, once he really started cracking Lopez, Lopez just wasn't the same fighter after that. Volk, not the most impressive or not the most exciting fight to watch, but impressive that Volk can still do it at his age against opponents like Lopez. Good job, Volk. I hope they make the Mobzar fight next. Justice for Mobzar. I'll see you all next week. Take it easy.